And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations.
What?
To act out these paradoxes.
Well, everything that you just said was nonsense. I don't even know how to address the last part.
And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history, confident of its future, and aims to always be the master of its own economic and political destiny.
He made it clear nationalism is the way forward. There's no door number 2. This was happening this weekend, but I think what's most important here, the takeaway, is it really shows a stark contrast in visions for the future of the West, or as AOC would refer to it, a failed civilization. So Marco Rubio, he made it pretty clear that we have made some missteps, that we thought a lot of human nature's problems had been solved, and that we need to be really clear in charting our course forward, and that the United States can do it without Europe, but we'd like to do it with them. AOC was unable to answer questions and complained about international classism. Then you also have, of course, the Eurotrash rambling. So first, let's go to Rubio. It's really a speech that's worth watching in its entirety.
Yeah, it is.
But he started by sort of just addressing and criticizing the thinking that has dominated a lot of the Western world, which has led to our societal suicide since the end of the Cold War.
That infamous wall that had cleaved this nation into two came down, and with it an evil empire. And the East and West became one again. But the euphoria of this triumph led us to a dangerous delusion that we had entered, quote, the end of history, that every nation would now be a liberal democracy, that the ties formed by trade and by commerce alone would now replace nationhood, that the rules-based global order, an overused term, would now replace the national interest, and that we would now live in a world without borders where everyone became a citizen of the world. This was a foolish idea that ignored both human nature, and it ignored the lessons of over 5,000 years of recorded human history. And it has cost us dearly.
And you know what? That's so important, because you guys comment, if you were raised in public schools, how many of you had the "We Are the World" poster with all the kids holding hands and all the flags? And I remember as a kid just looking and going, but wait a second, doesn't that one flag, isn't that a communist country? Wait, didn't that one flag, aren't they currently engaged in a genocide? We thought this was really, we were raised in the era of we are all one, we are all humanity. And it sounds nice to a child until you realize that cannot work. And even conservatives, I would say, there was a sort of a real libertarian phase where we thought, well, free trade is going to bring the rest of the world into the... It can't. First off, we know that there is no such thing as free trade when you look at these other nations. And we also realize that some of these nations simply don't want prosperity for their own people. It hasn't worked. And that's where we find ourselves right now. And not a lot of people in positions of power have been willing to address that. That's what we were raised with.
Or admit its failure. I mean, right? So you have the Fukuyama basically kind of championed this. I think it was the early 90s where he wrote his book that kind of famously championed that. But at the same time, Huntington wrote a book that was actually correct called Clash of Civilizations, and basically saying hey, no, that's not going to happen. You're ignoring human history, like Marco Rubio said. You're also ignoring just the reality of how we deal with one another, with countries that don't have the same goals and don't have the same aspirations. And for some reason, we don't look back at China and go, yeah, that didn't work at all, because the China strategy was basically if we just start doing business with them, they will become a democracy. They will come into the new world and they'll be like us. Well, they came into the new world all right, but they took advantage of us.
Right.
And now they have us in a really bad position. But can you just not look back and go, yeah, that's totally reasonable. We shouldn't have done that. And we should not do that going forward.
Well, what about the fact that Stephen just said in elementary school he was thinking about genocides?
He was.
Nobody.
That's weird.
We're just going to let this elephant
I absolutely
in the room
was.
just stay there.
I was.
You were thinking about genocides in elementary
literally,
school.
because we just learned, this
Rwanda.
didn't,
I was saying tap tap my court, no erases on the tetherball court, and you're in there and you're like, oh my God, it's just killing 50,000 a day.
Oh, no, I didn't care about the genocide. I just didn't want to be friends with the nation that committed genocide.
genociders.
I was how can we all be the world if there are bad countries where they kill their own people? That's how I found out I was right wing. My communist drama teacher said we need to give land back to Native Americans. I just come from history class. I said, well, the Algonquins or the Iroquois, those were the main ones in Quebec. She goes, oh, that's so right wing. I said, I guess I'm that. They were scalping the women and children. Also, you want to know how you know that this can't work? When they actually recorded that We Are the World, they couldn't even get all of the celebrities in one room because many of them hated each other. So they'd have to come in and tell, Springsteen can't be with so-and-so and so. Like, you think you're going to get countries to do that? No. And then Rubio went on to discuss and really kind of, not just discuss, but this is sort of, and actually this came from an Orthodox book that I read, to evangelize, what that means. It doesn't just mean, hey, good news, Jesus is great. It's laying down the terms. Here are your benefits, right? Here's what you get out of this, but these are the expectations. Rubio evangelized to Europe on their ties to America and how we want them to be a part of it, but what that actually looks like and the prerequisites.
In a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our culture, and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. Because the two great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours. Because we know
he's running in 28.
Because we know that the fate of Europe will never be irrelevant to our own.
The reason that I think that was so well done is because he gave the reason and the non-negotiable and sort of the red line. He set it up with, opened up to wave after wave of mass migration, which has been detrimental. He's saying, we're not going to do that. We are going to move forward in a way that benefits our people, and we would love for Europe to do that as well. We'd rather do it with you, but we will do it without you if that is your expectation. That is a way to lay out terms, to offer, right? Extend an olive branch, but you guys have to do it on our terms because you can't keep telling America what we do for Americans.
Yeah, and he did it at the right time too. Like, public perception of how this is going is not going well in Europe. They did it first. They started opening up the borders first to let mass migration happen. Didn't do anything about it, and you see it just running rampage all over Europe. And the citizens are like, "What the hell are you doing?" And at this point, for him to say that, to pick that one issue to bring up and then to tie it back to us, I think this was like, hey, listen, we will do this alone, but we don't need to do this alone. We want to do this with you.
Right.
Even though we're telling you that this is hurtful and difficult, we need to do this together.
It's making it really clear. Nationalism doesn't mean isolationism. Nationalism means having a really clear team jersey and knowing which other teams are actually your allies. That's what nationalism means. In other words, you can ally yourself with other nations who share your values and your interests. But if you don't have strong nationalism, you can never actually know who your allies are. And that's why he made it very clear that nationalism, which used to be a dirty word, I've been around a long time. I remember in 2016, they said nationalist or nationalism.
Hitler.
It really means white supremacy.
Yeah.
Well, Rubio's not backing away from it. I feel like he shares our exasperation at this point, where he made it clear nationalism is the way forward. There's no door number two.
Well, people often
National security.
Oh, sorry, but I'll go to you right after this clip. But yes.
National security, which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of technical questions. How much we spend on defense or where, how we deploy it, these are important questions. They are. But they are not the fundamental one. The fundamental question we must answer at the outset is, what exactly are we defending? Because armies do not fight for abstractions. Armies fight for a people. Armies fight for a nation. Armies fight for a way of life. And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history, confident of its future, and aims to always be the master of its own economic and political destiny.
That's why the left can't stand what he said. Yeah. A nation that has every reason to be proud. They'll go, what about slavery? You know who he's talking to there, right? I don't know if you know. I don't know if you're a history buff, but it's not like Europe was immune from the perils of slavery. I don't know how much you guys have brushed up on history a little bit. He's saying we have every right to be proud, and we have every right to look out for the interests of our people, and we would love for you to do the same thing, and then we can be brothers and sisters, but brothers mainly, in arms. Good. That's setting the table.
What the heck is that?
These are scripts I wrote today for you to approve.
Those are all scripts?
Yeah, well, I mean, technically some of them are songs, but I got a lot of really cool stuff in here. Got some ABBA parodies in here. I know you love ABBA, big ABBA guy. Everyone always talks about you love ABBA.
And you wrote them all today?
That's what I said!
How in the world were you able to write all of those in...
Fast, Gerald, real fast!
Josh, how many cups of blackout coffee have you had today?
How many cups of coffee? This guy, can you believe that? How many cups? I don't know. How many cups of coffee? How many pieces of bear shit in the woods, Gerald?
I have no idea how I would even know that.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know that, would you? I forgot.
No.
You wouldn't know that. You got no experience. I know that. You know why I know that? Because I've seen things, man. Oh, the things I've seen.
Josh, listen. No more blackout coffee today. You're done, okay? Tomorrow, coffee. Today, no more coffee.
One more.
No. Josh, 0 more cups of... Josh, get out of my office. No more cups of coffee. Go.
All right.
Go.
All right, whatever you say, boss.
Okay, fire Josh.
Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Crowder. Use the promo code Crowder for 20% off your first order and try the new exclusive Strange Animal Brew. Yes, I chose the beans. It is the blend that we drink here exclusively, and now I'm making it available to you. I'm sorry, Andrew, before the clip you were about to say.
I was just saying conservatives have gotten much better at making the distinguishment between ultra-nationalism and nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've made it a less dirty word over time. What the left always did was conflated the two. They said ultra-nationalism means nationalism because they equivocate on everything because they're scumbags.
Right.
And that's what the whole point is. Rubio's saying, look, the United States is going to put its interests first.
Right.
And that's what nationalism is.
Yep.
And nationalists look at other nations and assume you're going to put the interest of your people first. They assume that. So there's nothing there which prevents cooperation, prevents anything like this. It's not an isolationist policy to be a nationalist.
Right.
It's always been insane.
I would say it promotes cooperation because if you go into a negotiation assuming that the other party is thinking of their nation and at the utmost importance, then you know where you can start a negotiation.
Well, correct. You have a presupposition between the two. The
Yeah.
second you enter into the negotiation table, you're like, these people are trying to do what's best for their people. We're trying to do what's best for ours. They're assuming that back.
Well, it's just like think of like a neighborhood watch. Who do you think is going to be more effective? So your neighbors who are very family focused, where they have a central family unit. Their priority is going to be their family. Go, my priority is my family. Can we work together to make sure all of our families are safer, since that's what matters to us? You have a central set of values that are shared, and you can actually be allies. You can't do this if you don't know where people line up. For more proof, see Canada. They just used to say, well, we're the greatest friend the United States has ever had. Well, why? Why? What values does Canada share, Alberta notwithstanding? The truth is right now, none. None whatsoever. Euthanasia. I mean, you look at where they are on social issues, the silencing of the press, the silencing of political opposition, allying themselves with China.
Yeah.
What values do we share with Canada? Well, we don't really know what their values are because it's all determined by a poll in a parliamentary system and scheming. So that's why this is so important for people to understand. And what's funny is the left will conflate nationalism with white or ultra-white nationalism. They'll conflate the two, act as though they are the same, but then somehow try and sell you that socialism and communism aren't the same thing. If you ask them to explain the difference, they really can't.
But they expect nuance for their positions, don't they?
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, no. We're socialists, not communists.
Right.
No, we're light socialists, not heavy socialists.
Right.
No. We're leftists. We're progressives. They want nuance with every one of their positions, but grant you zero nuance for any of yours. You're like, wait a second. We're not talking about ultranationalism, which is putting and elevating the state above all other things. We have a tier for nationalism. It's God, family, nation. That's the tier.
Yeah.
Ultranationalism is nation. Than everything else.
Yeah.
The United States has never been an ultranationalist nation. Ever. It's never been.
No.
And the conservatives are not promoting that it needs to be. But there's no nuance allowed on our side, only on the left side.
No, that's absolutely right. And then there's no nuance allowed when they're like, oh, yeah, socialism has worked. You go, name me. They're like, oh, Venezuela, we can't use that anymore. Bernie Sanders he actually used the USSR honeymoon there. Can't use that anymore. Cuba, can't use that anymore. Then they go to entirely white Nordic nations with the population of New Hampshire. It's like, well, yeah, we could make socialism work like in Martha's Vineyard. Is that what you mean? You saw how they freaked out the second 2 brown people showed up.
Yeah, they're the happiest nations in the world with the highest suicide rates.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this is you see this. You see this all the time, right? But it depends on the metrics, and then you ask them to define the metrics, and you realize it's all bullshit anyway.
Yeah, no, of course it is. That's why they have to just go to a new. And not to mention the Danish Prime Minister said, "Bernie, stop saying social. We're not socialist. Okay, we're stop with that. We were built on free market economies." By the way, let's check it on the odds. This guy's running in 2028. Kalshi actually has.
He's got to be.
What Rubio is at the 3rd highest now to win the 2028 election. You've got Vance, Newsom, and then Rubio. So that's amongst all.
Yeah. I think
not just the Republican primary.
Yeah, that's among everybody. That's insane to me. Listen, I think Rubio I think a Rubio type right now is needed in the next administration as well. Whether he's in the vice presidential role, president, or stays right where he is.
Yeah.
He is absolutely needed because he got something done there that I haven't seen in a while, and that's a standing ovation from people that don't like you.
Yeah.
He went in the Lion's Den and got them to stand up and applaud.
Well, see, they were primed and ready to love this. What were you going to say?
I agree with Gerald, but I got to see this. Andrew's shaking his head.
What?
Uh-oh.
He's a terrible debater.
Rubio, that is true.
And he has a terrible stage presence for debates.
It's getting better, though.
He's not getting that much better. I don't think he is.
About?
I think that Vance would crush him in open debates. I think that he would. And I think that Newsom would have a better presence than Rubio on a debate stage for the middle-of-the-road people. So I'm not so convinced that Rubio is going to end up being your guy. I think that out of the viable candidates, it's way early.
Yes.
It's way early, but Rubio has never been able to strike himself out as a standout star. Anytime he's faced with the opposition, when the opposition can face him, he starts to crack.
He's been pretty good at the hearings, though. That's the thing. Now that he's been sitting there at the hearings, he answered those more effectively than, honestly, anyone in recent memory. Maybe RFK Jr., but that's just because he was so exhausted.
I think something happened in the last couple of years where he's like, his give a shit is kind of gone.
Yes. He was on the show, and I could tell. He was like, I don't know what you want me to say about these people. You could just see he's mentally checked out of trying to find common ground.
If he can find a good presence on stage when he's debating with his own party, and he doesn't get kowtowed, he doesn't get kind of... Because before they were just kind of he kind of shrink back a little bit. It's
he would.
If we can get this guy to where he can actually debate on the stage and give a presence, I think that would change his stars. Yeah. But that's not the way it's been.
He just needs a boost in confidence. You know, you can just give him some Hulk hands. He'll feel good about it. This brings us
lifts
to
in his shoes.
Yeah.
Rubio smash.
This brings us to the other person there in Munich who didn't fare so well. It's time for Deep Thoughts with Comrade Cortez. All right, here she is first, declaring Rubio's speech an appeal to Western culture, something. Instead, we need an international class-based order. Watch, it's stupid.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture.
Cool.
My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
They did.
I thought they came from too, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word.
Okay.
They want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest. A lot of what we talk about when we talk about a class-based internationalist perspective also means ending the hypocrisy towards the global South. I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability.
What?
And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations.
What?
To act out these paradoxes.
Okay, so everything that she just said was nonsense. I don't even know how to address the last part. But she said cowboys. I think Mexican might want a word. Cowboys did originate from Spain. So vaca is Spanish for cow. Spanish is from Spain. And the Spaniards brought Spanish to Mexico in 1519, along with, by the way, cows and horses. So I don't know if she understood. They hadn't domesticated these animals. There were no cowboys. They were kicking people's heads around as soccer balls in Mexico. So she's like, I think Mexico would like a word. Do you mean a word in the language of their conquerors? Does someone want to tell AOC where Mexico gets their Mex from?
This stuff's made in New York City. New York City? Get a rope.
Well, seems a little
the
harsh.
whole thing is that it's not cowboys, it's a vaquero.
Right.
And that comes from vaca. It's a Spanish word. The whole thing, cowboy, comes from Spanish. Yeah.
It's one of the most popular cowboy action pistols, right? The Ruger Vaquero.
Mm-hmm. But we got to work on your Marxist decoder ring.
Mm-hmm.
So what she said is coherent from a Marxist lens.
All right.
So
good Lord.
but
All right, hit us.
she's looking at everything from a strictly class and materialistic base.
Mm-hmm.
And she's claiming that the people who are not looking at everything from a materialist base, but are still living as though they do, are hypocrites.
Yeah.
That's what the lens is showing.
Sure.
But you have to look at it through a purely materialistic lens, which is how all Marxist philosophy works.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, but I still don't get it.
Well, you're not. It is, to be completely fair, objectively fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's nonsensical.
It's just that the point is like from that worldview, the strictly materialist worldview, everything's reduced to class.
Right.
It can't be reduced any other way.
Well, and to the global South. So apparently we're
well, that's good because she's an expert in the global South. Because she's got a little bit of Hispanic
South
in her
in her?
somewhere. Well, not really, but kind of. I mean, I don't know where you count necessarily Puerto Ricans, but she whined about the U.S. taking out Maduro and also messed up some geography.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example.
Venezuela.
It is not it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because
the whole world puts a bounty on
nation's
him.
below the equator.
So even though everything else was really stupid, but you may agree with her opinion, Venezuela is indeed not below the equator.
oh what? Not even a part of it.
shoot!
Not even like that last little part that juts south. Nope.
Thing is like, isn't she the hypocrite now? Because from her view, the materialist conditions, we went in to change the materialist conditions of the classes inside of Venezuela.
Right.
So the whole point is that sort of intervention is Marxist intervention. Like, she doesn't even understand her own philosophy.
No, well, she doesn't understand. I mean, she doesn't understand how people are walking upright because
That's
it's difficult for her.
She's a bartender, doesn't even know where the bottom shelf is.
Well, she also doesn't fully understand the concept of Taiwan because here is her greatest answer of all.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is a very long-standing policy of the United States.
She posted this?
What we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point, and we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Yeah, and she went on to say, by the way, I'm not an expert. Oh, really?
Andrew, does that need decoding too? Because I just think she's a stupid person.
Well, hang on.
No, I won't.
Hang on.
See, I told you.
That one's just, This is the problem too with the left, right? We talk about nuance, but they'll go, "You're being reductive." That's right.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like this is the problem with people acting as though everything has nuance. Because in the left, you can get away with not giving an actual answer. You can get away with not giving an actual answer on when human life begins. They have no answer for it. You can get away with not giving an answer on, hey, what is a woman, what is a man? They've never had an answer for it. You can get away with not giving an answer on, does Taiwan exist?
Yeah,
like, that trips them up.
There's not a decoder ring for that one.
Right. Well, I mean,
exist.
I get this criticism a lot. I think it's totally fair. So because I debate so many different people with so many different ideologies, I want to really understand their worldview. Of
course.
So anytime I hear them talk, I always think of everything from their worldview. And so I'll be explaining this to a friend like you or Gerald or other people, and they'll be like, yeah, that's all great, Andrew, but also they're fucking stupid communist. And I'm just like,
That's true.
Sometimes I wonder if it's not the case that I should just be like, yeah, that.
Yeah, that pretty much.
It's a simplest.
Well, I will say this. I try and do that too. With AOC, it is an exercise in futility.
True.
Because she has no idea what she actually believes. It's the only thing consistent is that she's completely inconsistent. Now, what is
cards?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Marlon Brando, that was his method acting. He's like, I want it to be spontaneous. I'm like, he's a brilliant talent. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.